Good morning and welcome. You're tuned to the Leg Up, your weekly thoroughbred preview podcast. Last show, gents. This is it. We're having a little break, well-earned break too, I would have said, Paul. You'd agree with that?
Definitely need a break. I think the break will give the punters a chance to forget how terrible we are, and when we come back, it's like we've got a fresh
sneak up on them. They might almost feel like they've missed us.
Yeah, I'm sure they will.
When are we coming back, Steve? That's the next big question.
Just penciled in the week leading into the Foxbridge.
Yeah, okay.
At this stage.
Okay, it's going to be good. Now, tell us about this shirt here. Is it a slow washing week at your house, or what's going on?
I thought I'd put something special on for the final show of the season. So, yeah, championship winning shirt for the TAB Challenge, International Challenge Cup, where we took on Victoria, New South Wales and the Queensland TABs and absolutely smashed them.
What, you won it? You wouldn't have been much of a part of that, surely. More the social side, surely.
Thank goodness they didn't need me to bat.
Yeah, okay, very good. Steve, last week, where were we? What happened? Just give us a little review.
Yeah, nice winter meeting at Te Rapa last Saturday. Some useful horses winning. Swiss Kitty winning the 74-14. Well back commodity. We Will Rock, just dominant. I thought it was quite an arrogant win. The margin may not reflect that, but I thought it was a dominant win by We Will Rock in the 3-year-old sprint.
Well done, BP.
Yeah, best bet of the day, saluting. I thought one race to follow though, ranked number one in terms of all the races on the day at Te Rapa was the rating 65, 1300. Rose Crescent was very impressive.
Yes.
Son of So You Think. He did the job beating Inserio, who was the well-backed favourite, who shouldn't lose any admirers in Serio. Michael McNabb just didn't get that track into the race. Hit the lead at the top of the straight, ran about the 450, 500 metre mark. It was a bit of a sitting duck in the last furlong, and as I mentioned, got beaten by a very useful type in Rose Crescent. As I mentioned, the Oval Race was ranked number one on the day and was 3.3 lengths above par for 65 grade. So it's definitely one horse or one race to follow, but in particular, the top two, Rose Crescent and Serio, going forward.
Okay, that is good. So we're thinking open handicaps is not going to be no
Not
problem.
Not far. It was round about a length off open class standard,
okay.
Rose Crescent. So they've both got upside.
Yep.
How
Lightly
deep they
raced.
go into the winter remains to be seen, but definitely two horses to follow in the next 6 months.
Okay, we'll mark those down. Time to head to our Hamilton studio. Say good morning to Mr. We Will Rock, Brendan Popplewell. Morning, BP.
Good morning, Thad. Good morning, boys. Yeah, nice to be joining you as we gear up for the last show for the season, but still some very good racing to look forward to this weekend. And we've seen some really good jumps racing too over the last couple of weekends as well, and that sort of makes it enticing as we've got the wet tracks in front of us now. We've got a couple of jumps races to look forward to tomorrow out of Trentham too, but some very good flat racing at both of our venues, and of course an important race for those late 2-year-olds competing out of Pukekohe on the weekend in the Futurity and a listed race over the 1400 metres. And one thing I will say about that shirt that Paul Mawati is wearing, it was a very well-led team that got that championship ring, as you mentioned there, Paulie. That was good fun.
Don't forget the skipper. Never forget the skipper.
Oh, I couldn't. How could I?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, legend. Look, BP, we'll stay with you. Maiden of the week time. Where'd you land here this week?
Well, let's go to a jumper. As I said, there's been some good jumps racing, and this was a horse that created a really good impression. Now, this was expected last season at Hawke's Bay, and he jumped terribly. The money was on. The word went from Hawke's Bay all the way up the North Island, and even down to the South Island, I'm sure, with his jumping ability in Al's Red Z. They backed it up with their wallets, and unfortunately he was pulled up. He's at the back end of the field and he just never got warm. Great to see him perform like that on the weekend just gone. Now, he's won on the flat. He was a horse that didn't compete in another jumps race after that disappointing effort at Hawke's Bay. He has more than capable flat ability, but I just love how he's been able to sit in behind horses in the run, and he just came underneath that runner on the point of the bend with a good heady ride from Sean Phelan. He does look to be a very good horse to follow. He's won a maiden hurdle. It won't be too far away from competing in better races, because that's how, unfortunately, it does work with the jumpers. So keep a close eye on him out of the right stable of Nelson and McDougall and Al's Red Z this winter.
No, BP, I say this every year. We've got a lot of good jumping trainers, a lot of good horsemen and women out there, but Nelson McDougall, it's worth following them during the winter months. Great trainers of a jumper, aren't they?
Oh, they really are. They are superior trainers, and look, as we know with Paul Nelson, he produces a top jumper each and every year, and of course now with Karina McDougall at the stable for the last few seasons, They put the hard yards in and they reap the rewards. And of course, the rewards are there for the jumpers this season. And we're just starting to see a sprinkling of more numbers over last weekend. And hopefully that can happen in our bigger races. Of course, we didn't quite see that in our feature race there in the Manawatu steeplechase. But once the rain is about, and let's hope those jumpers will be out and available, because the stake money is up. The stake money is up for the jumpers this year on the previous season. So if you've got a good jumper or a horse that looks like can jump, you've got the opportunity of racing for some good money over the winter.
No doubt, no doubt. Righto, team. We've got 5 races here. We're going to pack
Just
it in.
on that,
Yeah, you
Jumbo.
got something on Ellsbury Z? Yeah, go.
No figures, obviously, but
No.
the Grand Dam, the defensive play mare, the Gifted Shifter,
Oh,
it
yes.
was trained by Alan Sharrock, won 5 races and placed in a Wellington Cup in the
Owned
early
by Andrew
2000s from
Castles.
memory. Yes, one of 4 or 5 key owners. But yeah, so just looking on the pedigree in
Yeah.
terms of staying credentials, it's all there,
Okay,
especially on the dam side.
okay. Well, there we go. Bit of a breeding tune. We've got 5 races, Steve. How are we going to get through 5 races? We're going to have to rattle
Ridiculous.
our dags.
Sharp.
This is
Sharply.
ridiculous.
Well, let's
Come
start with Pukekohe, race number 4 on the card. It's the Barfoot and Thompson Auckland Futurity Stakes. That 2-year-old race that BP mentioned earlier. Run us through this market.
Interesting race. Contagious is the favourite at 2.8, Thaddeus. Well backed. Ladox in the second line, 330. Probably the third best back run, even though it sits in the second line. In terms of the best back run, it probably sits with number 3, Rare Company. 420 in a turn of $4. Mark Walker, Joe Cameroon does the riding here. She's class, also well respected and early money at $4.50. So those 4 dominate the market. Then you've got the second division, Feel the Thunder at 26. An Awesome Dude, best of the rest at 41. So early lead, fractionally around number 3, the debutant and Rare Company, in front of Contagious.
Yeah, tricky this time of year, BP, as you sort of alluded to here. We've got Contagious. He's had a few starts up against the first starter from Tiakau and a bit of a sprinkling of form elsewhere. It's not the easiest sort of race to attack, is it?
No, it's not. And when you've got a horse like, for instance, Rare Company, who was down to run at Avondale on Wednesday in a maiden 2-year-old race, have decided to go this way and line up at listed level, first time of asking, over 1,400 metres, and obviously has less competitors than what they had in a maiden 2-year-old midweek with Rare Company. Look, it's a race where I think Contagious has the form and has some key runs on the board. That last start effort at Matamata is a good one to be able to try and look at too, because the winner of the race was big in winning the race, as it's 3 wide on speed, but Contagious was constantly niggled at by the horse that was sitting outside leader, outside her, and she's just become vulnerable very late in the race. So let's have a look at this here. So as you can see, the winner is 3 wide on speed. Contagious is up against the rail, niggled at by that outside leader horse. Leadox is 3 back the rail and gets a split late to come across horses and finish on to be running into that third spot. 1,200 up to 1,400 metres looks ideal for the horse. So just with how the race was panning out here, Stephen, around Contagious, I just like the fact that she might be able to get a softer run in transit here, and you've been able to break the times down for us.
Yeah, so the first 600, or to the 600, they've gone 35.54, running home 36.89. So they've gone a lot quicker in the first 600 metres, the first half of the race. You see they're to the 600, 5.9 lengths below par. And last 600, also below par, 3.2 lengths in terms of open class standard. In terms of the reflecting it on 2-year-old standard, it was plus 1 length above par. So the overall, in terms of the 2-year-olds at maiden class, have held up all right. It doesn't tell us too much in terms of the race shape, because they've gone out slow and come home reasonably slow in terms of open class standard. But so I don't think in terms of the way the race was run, it favoured on speed or back markers. So hard to get an assessment there. But the race has come out okay, as I mentioned, plus 1 length above par for 2-year-old maiden class. Yeah, I didn't really have a strong opinion in this race, Dad, to be honest. I found it a little bit tricky, always respecting the debutant out of the Mark Walker barn. As BP alluded, it was down to run on Wednesday at Avondale. There's a couple of horses, including Contagious, who was down to run on Wednesday. They were elected to go for black type and the high prize money on Saturday. I am a little bit nervous around the 5. She's got the pedigree out of Milducky to handle the off track. I think last time I checked the track conditions, it was hovering around that heavy 7, heavy 8. I don't think there's too much rain to forecast between now and race day. So it could be that holding surface which we saw at Avondale midweek.
Yeah, okay. Paul, initial thoughts here. Which way were you leaning? Money for the Te Akau first starter?
Yeah, and I've got it written down here. Any money would be a good indication of the chances. So certainly Rare Company comes into the if you're going to have a few sort of exotics or things like that. But Contagious, she probably should have won one by now. Ran into a very good one first up at Te Aroha. Just got stuck on the rail a bit, I think, second up, and then the replay that BP just showed there, she just got outlasted slightly. The one that I did like from there was Leadox. I think the step up to 1400 will be fantastic. He showed quite a bit of power once he got out into he looks like a big striding type as well.
Bella Carolina, the dam, she was pretty talented from memory.
So yeah, but Leadox, I've got at the top at the moment.
Yeah, okay. Well, does it start to make you a bit nervous when those horses had 4 races and it hasn't quite broken through yet? Or is it, it sounds like there's been excuses potentially for Contagious.
Very much so. Sometimes it just takes a while for some of these, I guess, just to find their winning their winning ways.
Yep.
So I'm happy to go against Contagious this time again.
Okay. You're thinking Leadox?
I do like Leadox.
Okay. BP, summarise the race for us. Which way did you end up going?
I think this race becomes a trick with track conditions. Heavy 9 currently, and where it sort of lands is the tricky part around this race, because we're exposing horses here that we don't really get a true line on in terms of some heavy track form, apart from a horse like Timeless, who's had a number of starts this season, and Feel the Thunder's been placed on a heavy surface as well. You know, some of those horses at bigger prices. I did like She's Class trial. I thought her trial was really good, and coming out of a good first up run where she's finished 3rd at Avondale. I like how she was positive in the barriers in her trial. She sat outside leader and she put the race away to win that trial by 3 1/4 lengths. It was a really good trial, and she's bred to be a very good horse. Mildaki, of course, competing at the elite level. So I'm wary of her. I am. I think Contagious is going to be my top selection, but a little bit like Stephen. Lukewarm on the race, so maybe Contagious and She's Class are the two that I'm leaning towards.
Yeah, okay. Was Contagious a default favourite here in a way, Steve?
I wouldn't say default, but
Yeah.
again, when you've got Rare Company and you've got no figures to go off just on the eye and vision from trials, etc., and the overall profile with the jockey and the trainer, you had to respect it. But in terms of just raw figures, Contagious is the number 1 seed. So
Okay.
I think a deserving favourite, the 2-year-old filly by Precer. She's Class. We go on the pedigree. It's one horse that will like the track condition. I just checked the BP's bang on. It's a 9 pentometer reading at the moment. Hopefully it gets back to 8, possibly 7, but they're not going to come back too much at this time of the year with the low temperature, etc. So Rare Company's probably the one horse that we're low confidence in terms of the meeting during the week, where its price would end up. Opie Bosson was down to ride on Wednesday, doesn't have that services, so overall profile just lacks a little bit of turnover with the loss of Opie being over in Brisbane. But yeah, again, it's a tricky race to assess.
Must say a little bit about the horse that they scratched from the Wednesday and have a crack at the listed race. Or was it? Yeah.
Yep, and maybe just the overall strength of the race too. There doesn't look to be a world beater at this stage.
No.
So they've rolled the dice there. Going to get similar track conditions to what was exposed on Wednesday, so it might be the last chance until we really see the heavy tracks for juveniles. So you'd see maybe possibly a lot of these horses having their grand final before they're turned out to a 3-year-old campaign.
Okay, BP's got Contagious on top with a bit of She's Class. Paul, what are your final thoughts here?
Leadox on top, with a little bit of Rare Company. Money has tweaked my interest.
Yeah, you love following the money train. Okay, so what about even a Quinella, potentially Leadox, Rare Company?
Yeah, that fixed 650 at the moment.
Okay, very good. Okay, that's the way the boys go in their race number 4, the Futurity Stakes. Race number 5, gentlemen, is the Franklin Auctions 1400 for the 3-year-old Stephen. Jeepers creepers, this is a even old go.
Yeah, not much action here, to be honest. Third in the first 36 hours of trading. Ling Zhong Zong Feng and also Saracen, 450 each of 2. No lead between those two runners. Reverberations at $5 in that third line. Magawa just in a turn there, 7 to 650. Rekindled Express out of turn, 7 now trading 7.5. Smart Rocks 8 out to 850. And best of the rest is Eve Song, last start maiden winner, 16 out to 18. So no lead, a little bit light in turnover. I think punters just wanting some sort of lead from a stable possibly on race day. But yeah, at this stage we can't give one.
Okay, here's someone that can give us a lead. BP, yours.
Yes, thanks, Ed. Yeah, look, it's an interesting race, isn't it? Because you've got some horses that have looked good in this type of company. You've got like Reverberations, for instance, who was a very good winner last time to the races. You've also got Rekindled Express, who's, you know, in a small sample size, is pretty decent as well. Saracen Lingjong Feng is a horse who's competed in 2 stakes company over distance and has run with a heck of a lot of merit, of course, with that placing most recently, and behind Pinarello, and not that far off them, behind Amalfi Prince in a Manawatu Classic, comes back to 1400 metres, does that particular runner. And then you've got very good, impressive maiden winners, the likes of Smart Rocks and Magawa, and I'm pretty keen to show you Magawa's race from last time to the races too, because this is a key race to look at, because we've heard Stephen mention a number of times around this race just how strong it is in terms of figures. Now, it would have been nice to see Aquaman getting the job done out of this race and winning on Wednesday, who's finished into 2nd position, but still was a horse who was set a task on Wednesday, and you'd want to continue to follow. But Stephen, overall, this was a race that has rated strongly through your figures. Talk us through this.
Yeah, 74.30, the overall time for the 1200 metres. I've gone out very quick. 36.59 to the 600, 5.1 lengths above par. Last 600, 5.4 lengths below par. Verse class plus 4.5 lengths, so they're really flowing. It's an overall race that I'm keen to follow, including the second horse. I want to forgive the second horse in terms of its run on Wednesday. Very hard to make ground from back and outer at Avondale on Wednesday. It was a very holding track, so I definitely want to forgive. You'll get a price next start, hopefully, around the second horse. But when it comes to Magawa, there was 4 1200 metre races on that day, including a 74 grade event, and it was by far the quickest, Magawa. I'm very keen on this horse on Saturday. There's 2 horses I've identified against some exposed 3-year-old black type performers on Saturday. I'm just taking a slight set against the top 3 in the market. I'm going to go with Magawa on the up, has rain affected form, and as we've seen, has run on the clock as well. So that's one horse. The other one being Smart Rocks. Maiden win rated very well, again 3.4 lengths above par when winning at Ruakaka. The second horse, Cake by the Ocean, has been a sub-winner, a very impressive winner on Wednesday at Avondale. And on raw figures, was 2.5 lengths superior v Rekindled Express win on the same day in distance. So I'm just taking a slight set against Rekindled Express. I'm going to veer towards Smart Rocks and Magawa. Not sure how I'm going to play the race, because I wish these 2 didn't combine or clash. There are 2 horses I had as my black book, just purely on numbers, what they performed out of maiden status. But Magawa and Smart Rocks are 2 horses I'm very keen on to beat three-year-olds that have been exposed already on black type races.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because I mean, usually my eye would be drawn to the Saracens, the Lingjong Fengs, etc. here, because they've got the 3-year-old form, but these horses coming out of maidens, you believe are going to measure up here.
Yeah, I just like the upward spiral. I like what they produced at maiden class. Their figures are better than any horse in this race has produced from their maiden wins. So just lining those that stat up, I'm keen on Magawa and Smart Rocks. Magawa probably on just slightly in front of Smart Rocks, purely because its maiden win was on and off track, where Smart Rocks produced it on a better surface at Ruakaka, where we're going to hit that pentrometer of 8 and 9 on Saturday. But the 7 and the 8, the 8 and the 7, very keen to take on the top 3 or 4 in the market.
Okay, Paul, what are you thinking here? What have you got on your cheat sheet?
I do like Smart Rocks as well.
Okay.
I think a huge. I love that win at Ruakaka. Was it Cake by the Ocean?
Cake by the Ocean was second. It trialled up really well. I mean, you might get put off by the SP that Smart Rocks produced at Ruakaka, but it trialled up really, really well. The money was on first up, and it disappointed for whatever reason. They've gone back, second up, it sat on speed, so it'll be able to use its good draw on Saturday, and it demolished them. And the second horse has been a sub-winner.
I like Saracen as well. I do.
Yeah, fair enough.
That win at Matamata, the horses that were in 2nd, 3rd and 4th have all come out and won at least another race, some more than one. So, and it looks like ready to go here as well. So, Saracen, I think at 450 is a huge chance.
It was a slashing run at Rotorua, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah, okay.
Very, very tidy.
Okay. BP, surmise the race for us, the 3-year-old.
Yeah, look, a little bit like the 2-year-old race, where it is hard to try and find some pure sort of wet track form. And I'm a little bit like Steve. I'm drawn to Magawa with how the horse won on ground that's going to be very similar to the weekend. And what we do get also is we get some weight relief too with Jimmy Chung, the jockey we'll hear a lot more of over the next few months, you would imagine, because he's picking up some good steady rides. And just with where the horse sits in the market, it looks to be a bet. Because Reverberations is a horse I do like. I just guess exposed on a heavy surface, with what type of track we might get if it is in that holding nature, it just puts me in that unsure bracket because the horses look very good when winning on a better surface. One of them was here, it was in the summer months, and the other win, of course, was last start on a good 3 at Te Rapa. I think he's a very talented horse, Reverberations, and like him a lot. I just guess just trying to have a bet on the horse on unknown ground is the question mark, and probably the question mark for a couple of other key rivals in the race. So, yep, looks to be a race where going each way specky on Magawa and trust what we've seen last time to the races.
Yeah, nothing down this page here. A bit of a jump from Smart Rocks out to the likes of Eve Song, Bugatti, Rosberg, BP. So there's a little bit of a jump there, isn't there?
It is, to be honest. Look, the other horse that we probably need to mention is Lingjung Zhongfeng, a runner who does have the class on its side because it's proven that this season and just has to come back from 1,400 metres on the weekend. Last start was back in April, of course, here at this venue. It's been racing over 2,000 metres. But what he does have on his side is the class element, maybe over the other rivals with what he's competed in this season.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, absolutely needs to be mentioned. He's the joint favourite, Paul.
Yes.
BP going with Magawa. Steve sounds pretty keen. Which way are you going from a betting perspective here?
I'm going Sarazen to win at 450, and I do like Smart Rocks for a top 3 at 270.
No, Smart Rocks top 3, 270. Well, you'd agree with that, Steve, going Smart Rocks.
It'll put itself in the race. Just Lingjong Zhongfeng. BP alludes that it's had 2 starts, Manawatu Classic 2000 and then Championship Stakes over 2-1. So again, that was a slight reason to go for a horse on the upper last start maiden winner because around number 3, I'm just a little bit concerned dropping back in trip to 1400 around the favourite. But nice race. I think there's a few here to follow bouncing out of the race regardless of the result. But keen on the 7 with a little play on the 8.
Yeah, okay. Well, I can tell you that the 7 has been the best back runner in our market thus far, and has come in a roll or two, Steve. I think it opened 750, did it, or around that mark? Now trading at 6.5.
Yeah, 7 into 6.5.
7 into 6.5. So plenty of interest around Magawa. BP keen as well, and Paul likes Sarazen after that very, very good second at Rotorua last start. Okay, team. Race number 7 on the card. How Nui Farm 1100 for the open handicap sprint here, Steve. And this is a nice field. I like this field.
Again, punters just struggling with a decent lead or money volume in the first 36 hours. Just looking here, Aero de Paris come out this morning, so it's one of a key scratching in a very open race. Shoshone heads the market at 350. Just a key jockey engagement there. Alan Nicholas was down to ride early doors this week. Joe Cameroon jumps on. Alan Nicholas not riding at the meeting, apparently. 4 into 350. Mega Bourbon, 450 out to 4.8. Crystallised first up, $6 third line. Tight line, $6.50. Palm Springs, similar profile to Crystallised, first up here for John Bell at $8. Star Treasure, 8.5. Double figures around New York Jazz, 11. And Diamond Pegasus, best of the rest at 16. As I mentioned, no lead. Best back run in terms of dollars invested. It's not a clear lead. In terms of the light turnover, sits with number 4, Shoshone.
Yeah, okay, BP. Shoshone's our favourite. We know how good a winter galloper she is. Shame Aero de Paris come out this morning because I was looking forward to seeing him back on the track as well. You don't have any O'Sullivan Scott news for us there around Aero de Paris?
I don't, no, not on the reason for the scratching, but certainly keep tabs on it though, if everything is A-OK, because it might be in for another reasonable winter. This is a interesting race because we've got 6 out of the 10 and maybe even 7 out of the 10 that like to lead. Now you've got Crystallise, Tight Line, Shoshone can be in or near speed. You've got Breeze On, who led last time to the races. Star Treasure is a horse who can sit either in or outer, so I've sort of left that one out, but it has a tendency of going forward. Diamond Pegasus is another horse that's likely to go forward, and it's got blinkers on as well. So that makes it immediately an awkward race if you want to be backing a speed runner or if you're keen to be backing one of those horses that wants to find that forward position. Now, Crystallise trialled like it was ready to go, certainly with what I saw of his trial. Now, I know the horse was scratched last week, but we see a wet track condition for the horse. Ace Lawson Carroll is a runner that is 2 from 2 at this venue, and just a good solid winter galloper, a bit like Shoshone. Shoshone we're going to see a lot of over the next few months. Shoshone hasn't had a private, we haven't seen this horse publicly. It's been 203 days since the last time this horse went to the races to what we see on the weekend. So that's one little query, but look, as we know, from the right barn to be able to get them ready fresh up anyway. So do you look for a horse who's going to be in the sweet spot, just off them, in that 3rd or 4th position, or do you want to find the right horse that can get to that front position? But at this stage, which one is it? Is it tight line? Then it can't go on wet tracks. Is it crystallised, but does it get looked at? So that's the conundrum I have at this stage with this race.
There's a few conundrums here, Steve, I would have thought. I mean, I maybe would have expected to see a little bit more money for Shoshone if she's ready. She's a popular galloper. And the other one is, what do we do with Mega Bourbon? Are we starting to call it slightly disappointing, or has it got excuses for the last couple of runs?
I think it was a gallant second and behind a good mare last or 2 starts back.
Yes, quite right.
At Te Rapa.
Yeah.
Last start, I think you just got to trust the stable, Stephen Marsh and co, that it's backing up within 7 days from its disappointment last Saturday at Te Rapa when it was a well-backed commodity. I think it started around about 2:30 from memory at Te Rapa in the open sprint. Ran well below betting expectations, but I think you got to trust the stable. Stephen Marsh wouldn't be backing up this horse unless he was very happy with the individual, in particular 7 days after a failure. Has a strong SP profile, so that will naturally hold its price within the top 2 or 3 in the market, Mega Bourbon. And as BP alluded, there's a lot of speed, and that's one horse that they'll appreciate the speed up front. It will just be able to sit back, maybe in that neutral position, and finish off the race, hopefully for the followers of Mega Bourbon over the top. But I think if you want to back the horse, you just got to trust the stable. That's all you can do around its performance last weekend. On Shoshone, I would have loved to seen a trial, and that's probably stifling the turnover around number 4, Shoshone. I think it can get that dream run. In behind 4 or 5 that want to go forward. Shoshone doesn't need to lead here first up. She can just sit in behind that hot tempo and get a late split. I think they'll just try and hold her up as long as they can off that hot tempo purely because she is first up. She may not have the fitness levels against some of the key rivals like the Tight Lines and also Mega Bourbons, etc. Crystallise, yes, it's got a 4 kg allowance, but still having to carry 58 kegs versus a lot of key rivals here that sit around that 54.5 and below. So it was allocated 62, drops to 58. I'm happy to take a slight set against the 1. I want to see it perform on race day before I dig into it over the winter, Crystallise. And you look at its trial, yes, it won, but the second horse disappointed last Saturday at Te Rapa. So a little bit of low confidence around the trial and what to take out of it. But yeah, again, sticky race, just like the juvenile, no strong opinion.
Okay, Paul, what are you thinking here? Who's on your list here? And have you got anything else that we need to have a look at? A Star Treasure, a Tight Line? Who's in the frame here?
Well, obviously the O'Sullivan Scott team will have one eye on proceedings across the ditch on Saturday. But I do like the look of Star Treasure. That was a gutsy battle at Avondale last time with Illumination and Oscillata. So off of that, looks like a very, very nice each way go. If Shoshone, if she's fully fit, she wins this one and with a fair amount of ease. It's just we just haven't seen her since she had a wee bit of a problem with a hind leg or something back in November. So if the stable have got her ready to go, if the Kelsos have got her ready, we'll be looking at that 350 thinking, why don't we take it?
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, that Star Treasure, though, I know it raced up on the speed last time, but I'll be thinking that will be just easing back probably out of it from 8 and just get the last shot at them potentially.
Just in behind the leading pack, yeah.
And have you been on Tight Line since it's been winning? Crystal Lindsay's got a good affinity with the horse.
If anyone could stop it, it's me and you.
There's no doubt about that. Yeah, okay. So Star Treasure is in your mix, but Shoshone looks to be your top selection. What do you think of Mega Bourbon? What's your take there?
Well, it was very, very disappointing last time out.
It was a funny race, wasn't it? All the outsiders trifected it. I can't remember the trifecta now, but it was just no favourites got into that race.
It was a big carry forward, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think there was. Yeah, okay. Well, trust the stable, says Steve. What are you doing? What are you going to do here, BP? This is, as Steve mentioned, sticky.
It is. I think if Shoshone's ready to go, this can be her race, fresh up. She races well in that state. She has a draw where she can park up in the right position. Look, you would imagine that Tight Line, with all that speed in the race, is the horse that does love to get up and go. And it's drawn in a barrier draw of 7. So look, there's no point just going back with this horse, because every time they've gone forward, it's won. In its last 3 starts, it has a 4 kilo allowance. So surely that's the horse that jumps and runs over 1,100 metres, and then it's bound to those who find that right position and behind speed and what else goes with it. So yeah, I think Shoshone in an awkward race. But like Paul, I think Treasure State has just been running some nice races of late to say, even it is a step up in grade, it gets into a better place in the weights with a couple of kilos coming off with Massa, just to make it dangerous at around that 8.5 mark, and almost luring you in, saying speed on, can find a sweet spot in the race. Maybe it's the right runner to be on at a bit of a price also. So yeah, I ended up finding the same 2 horses as Paul.
Yeah, okay, Star Treasure. We haven't mentioned Palm Springs, BP. Do we need to mention Palm Springs? How was the trial? And it hasn't got a bad fresh record either.
No, it's a horse that John always rates as well, and is a horse that can get through the wet track conditions. Had a trial to get herself ready for this, and we know that she can get through the winter conditions with her soft and heavy track condition. And again, that might be just another one of those horses that can take a spot. Probably looking for a touch further than the 1,100 metres, has won over this distance, but if the horse is in some type of condition to be able to follow some speed here, which should be on, well, then that gives her an opportunity, doesn't it? So it's sitting at $8. What it does do for this race, and probably what we haven't helped, is that it's a leg of the quaddie, and we haven't really given much clarity around the race. So make sure you keep your spend on trying to spread it as far as you can, maybe in this league.
Yeah, fair to say we haven't nailed it in this one. But Paul, it sounds like you've got a similar setup here, Shoshone. It'd be nice to see a nice little move tomorrow from maybe $3 to $3.20 to $3, and then we could really say bang.
Well, I think if you are going to have a quaddie, have one ticket where you anchor Shoshone, and then have another ticket where you go a wee bit wider.
BP loves the second ticket, doesn't he? He loves the second ticket.
Is it his?
Third.
Is it his ticket, or is it Cruise's ticket?
Yeah. Any final thoughts,
comment.
Steve, before we move to Trentham on this one?
Well, we've got the TPL tomorrow morning. We've got trackside right throughout the afternoon. Maybe a little interview around Ken Kelso. Ken Kelso, is that what we need around Shoshone, BP?
Yeah, that would help. That would help, actually. So should we talk to the producers? If not, we'll try and get them on. We'll try and get them on race day.
Let's have a word. Let's have a word to the producer, see if we can twist their arms and get us a Ken Kelso interview, because if he gives her the green light, they may not see which way she went. She's a very talented mare at best. Okay, guys, a couple of races we want to have a look at Trentham before we push on for the day. Is race number 4, Steve, down at Trentham. It's the Southey Sayer Chartered Accountants 1,400 metres for the open handicappers.
Yeah, busy betting race, that is. 4-5 they're willing to dive into in the first couple of days, including the favourite Old Town Road, $3.20. Just gone out a couple of turns from $3 flat on Wednesday. Amuse Moi, $3.30. Rock solid in terms of dollars invested, best back runner, but no strong lead. As I mentioned, 3 or 4 that have been played outside the 6, but Amuse Moi well identified. Time's ticking, 480 into 450. Deerfield, 8 out to 9, a little bit soft there, as is the stablemate in Springtide, 9 out to 11. Tavi Court got a size 13 off the original price of 11, back into 11 this morning, come Friday morning. And Cruz Ramirez is the second best back runner. Even though it's ease, 13 out to 14 is currently a break-even result, Cruz Ramirez. But look, no strong lead, but if there was a slight one, it sits around number 6, Amuse Moi.
Yeah, look, a few first-up runners here, BP, which make things a little bit difficult, or may make things a bit easier. I mean, we've got Springtide, Deerfield, Tavi's Court, and even Charlie Horse resuming here. And look, we haven't seen too much money for any of them thus far.
Yeah, and if we're not seeing any money for the Cressy Banbury pair, that could be an indicator as well, as we know that that stable does move markets. And look, they're 2 talented horses, especially the one horse in Springtide, as we know, a horse that has been Group 1 placed this season when running a desperately close second in the Tarzino over 1,400 metres. I think a very key video to show you around this race is Amuse Moi last time to the races. And of course, it was a race that was dictated by a nod of the head. And it just meant that this horse had every possible chance of winning this race. And Stephen's going to break that down with the figures here that are presented, but also with how strong they were late. Of course, they went so slowly up front that they were always going to finish late, and Amuse Moi was one of them. Was producing the best 8, 6, 4 and 2 in the race. And as you can see, indicated there by Stephen's figures there in the last 600. So Look, this is a race where I think Muse Moir is looking for wet tracks. It has won, 3 races in Australia. 2 of them were on off surfaces. Did win very first up, of course, in this country when coming back on a good surface, then didn't get the favours I was looking for in an Anzac Mile. But heavy track condition is certainly right in his wheelhouse. And now that he's had a couple of runs in this preparation and he's run so solidly there when getting home from the back of the field in a slowly run race up top, I was keen to be with him. I did like him.
Steve?
Yeah, well, there was 4 1,400 metre events on that day. They've gone out 51.29 to the 600. You see there, 12.2 lengths below par. So they've absolutely walked.
Yeah.
1 second slower than the remaining 3 1,400 metre events on the day. Coming home the last 600 in 33.83. It's a quick time on an off track, by far the quickest of the day. And as you see there in the green light, 5.8 lengths above par. So it really did suit on-speed runners and the likes of the winner, etc. Overall time, minus 6.4 lengths in terms of open class. Versus this particular class at 74 grade, just a fraction below standard, 0.9 lengths. You see there, minus. So no real knock on the overall race in terms of the figure, but in terms of breaking it down into 2 to the 600 and the last 600, Muse Moir was massive considering the race shape and the way it found itself at the back
So
of the
what
field.
we're saying here is to make up ground from the back in a race with that sort of shape is
Almost
a
mission
meritorious
impossible. When they're
effort.
running
Yep.
33.83 off the front for the last 600 on and off track, you really have to, for a horse that's maybe 3 or 4 lengths off the lead, probably has to run close to 33 even, and that's incredible. Probably unheard of for a horse, particularly at 74 grade, but on and off track. So Muse Moir may have not been able to do much more than what she produced and where she finished in the race, considering that race shape. So a big tick to her going forward, and she's been, as I mentioned, the best back run in terms of dollars invested for the first 36 hours.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. Paul, what do you got here for us?
Well, I don't usually sort of take Steve's figures. Into
You
account.
pick him
You're
up
not
and throw
alone.
him
Not
out
as-
the-
not
exactly.
alone.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
as much as I probably should have, but he's got me this time.
Oh, no.
After that, I really do like the look of that, the Muse Moir. It's just a huge run against the sort of tempo of the race. So I do like a Muse Moir, but time's ticking. I thought the Albie McGregor trained time's ticking. What was second in behind Two Illicit in a Group 3 sprint at Hawke's Bay. Group 3 fourth in the Thompson. This guy's got a bit.
He bobs up times ticking. as well.
Does.
Yeah.
I like. He had a run to freshen up, so I've got those are my 2 on top.
Yeah, okay. Muse Moir and
Time's ticking.
Time's ticking for Albie. Has had the run. Look, BP, you're more of a feel man, aren't you? With your betting, you take Steve's figures, throw them in the air, and don't look at them. You're just all about feel, aren't you?
Yeah, that's a kind way of putting it. Yeah.
There's many ways to skin a cat on the when
Indeed.
you're having a bet, don't there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Takes all types, BP, doesn't it? You sound pretty keen on a Muse Moir, yeah?
Yes, yeah, I am. And look, I think Old Town Road produces a similar run to last time to the races. Well, that has to be danger too, doesn't it? Of course, beaten behind Secret Amor, who's then run a slashing race in the Rotorua Stakes next time to the races. Was it only a couple of weeks ago when roaring home from back last to finish into 3rd position behind Francesca. So that's a really good branch of form line, isn't it, there around Old Town Road. So I'd be keen to take a little sneaky Quinella with those two and maybe an exacta with Muse Moir, because just with what we've seen from that horse last time to the races, I was really taken by it. Wet track, no issues. So, yep, I was keen to mark it down as a bet for the weekend.
Oh, I like it. Don't give the game away, Steve. Look, the money, no money at the stage around the Chrissy Banbury runners, Deerfield and Springtide. We know how good individuals they are when they're right. And I'm just wondering about Cruz Ramirez. Does that come out of the same race as a Muse Moir, where it ran 4th there that day? I'm not too
Yes,
sure.
it was in that zone where you had to be in the top 2 or 3. So
Boxed on.
Boxed on okay in terms of how the race shape, and we've explained it in the last 2 to 3 minutes. You clearly sit with Muse Moir. Just on the Chrissy Banbury pair, Springtide, what came of age last preparation was this time
Unbelievable.
last year was
Unbelievable.
rated, I think, 77 from memory. So it's running in those 74, 85 kind of benchmark races. 12 months on, it's got a rating of 98. So it's a hard horse to place now in terms of open class races, because it's going to be carrying a heavy weight on testing track conditions, which we know it relishes, but this time in, it's going to be carrying 58 and above, where this time last year it was on the minimum. So it's going to be a hard horse to place for Chrissy and the team, but we know he's got the talent old Spring Tide. And Deerfield, well, he'll put himself in the race. He'll set up a genuine tempo. He's just a try, so he may not be fully wound up for Saturday's assignment, but look, he'll be trying, as he always does. He just might find that last furlong a touch, just maybe peak in that last furlong a touch or so out from the winning post. But just on times ticking, his Trentham form, you don't
I
want
thought
it on
his
paper.
Trentham form was all right.
Well, it's not
I kept
bad. You go
thinking-
back his last 3 starts. They've been at Group 3, 2 times at Group 3 level, and a Group 1 Captain Cook back in 2020. Last season, he ran 4th in an anniversary, just beaten under 2 lengths. I think from memory, Super Strike over the Wellington Cup Carnival. So you dive into that Trentham form away from what it says on paper. It's not as bad as what it looks. I've just got a feeling around times ticking. Now, early doors, he was a genuine heavy tracker, but just in the last 12 months, he's really appreciated better footing, and he's got the best turn of foot on a dry deck out of all these horses. Maybe Spring Tide is one that you could put in that conversation. Look, he did finish a brave placing in behind 2 Illicit at Hawke's Bay over the Carnival last year, and that was on a decent surface. So I don't know. I just feel this time where he's a little bit older, the wet track might be a slight negative, and he's appreciating that maybe slow surface or soft surface v the sticky heavy track, which we're going to get at Trentham on Saturday. So that was my only concern around times ticking. He's definitely got the class, but maybe brought back to the pack where he sits now these days to where he was maybe 2 or 3 seasons ago.
I was about to say times ticking, so loves Trentham. Then I looked at the form and it's 5-0.
Yeah, but again, I think that's slightly misleading. As I say, he's been running in Group 1s and Group 3s in his last 3 starts on the Champagne turf, and was a gallant placing in behind Super Strike and an anniversary, which is a lot stronger than what he meets on Saturday.
I'm going to suggest to you, if there's no money for Deerfield, Spring Tide and Tavies Court, which there hasn't been at this point in time, that Cruz Ramirez at $14 has to shorten. There's my summation.
Yep.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's not a bad judgment call.
Yeah.
He's up and running. He's third up, so there's maybe a sense of timing around the Bryce Newman trained galloper. He sits on the minimum of 54 kegs. Comes out of the race as Muse Meyer does, who's the best back runner in that second line. So yeah, he may be the horse that comes in where the horses like the Deerfields and Spring Tides. I think the stable and the punters have shown their cards around those 2 horses. They're going to need the run.
Yeah, of course, if there was money for Spring Tide, Deerfield, Tavies Court, then I wouldn't be suggesting Cruz Ramirez as an option potentially, but now I'm just thinking maybe $14. He's just a little bit of value.
Yep, for sure. Look, Spring Tide, you go back in its last 2 or 3 seasons or campaigns, hasn't taken long to get up to the mark. I think it won 2nd and 3rd up last preparation. But as I mentioned, that was when it was a 75, 85 grade performer. Because it's been placed in a Group 1 in the last 6 months, it's got the highest rating in this race. And we know it's a hard achievement. Doesn't matter what grade you are to carry a top weight on a heavy testing track.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Pop's keen on Amuse Moi. Paul, where did you finish?
Yeah, Amuse Moi and times
Amuse
ticking.
Moi.
Look, I wouldn't throw Deerfield out with the bathwater.
No, he's a great performer, isn't he?
Exactly.
No doubt.
And he could get away with one here. He won the listed Bramco Flying Stakes around this time last year. I can't leave him out.
He probably gets it all right at 59.5 because of the stable, mate, doesn't he? In
Indeed.
a way, he carries big
He
weights.
tries. He just tries so hard. He very rarely puts in a bad performance. So.
Yeah, okay. Amuse Moi for the team there by the sound of it. BP will be nodding accordingly, but we need to get to race 5 before we finish up. Trust House Masterton 150 Jubilee Cup, Steve, race number 5 on the card over the 2,200 metres.
Yeah, a clear horse that's been identified by punters in the first couple of days. Number 4, Prince Leo. So we went 3.8 each of 2 around Prince Leo and Very Flash. Well, Prince Leo now sits at the top of the market at 3.30. V Very Flash at 3.80. Hurricane at 5.50. She is the third line of Crossroads. Lurid, $8.50. An impressive winner last Saturday on the track. Outside that, you got No Loitering at 16. Amethusia splits the Lurid and No Loitering at $9. And best of the rest is Ned Win at 41. So, yeah, nice little lead here around number 4 and Prince Leo.
Look, he was very good. BP second up. Prince Leo, he's going to be improved again, and he's going to get conditions to suit on a track he doesn't mind. So, even though Very Flash was very good resuming, you can probably see why the money's coming here.
Yes, absolutely. Look, this horse gets a 5.5 kilo swing on Lurid here on their clash again on the weekend. Of course, they go from 74 grade up to open handicap grade, but it was a huge swing in the weights with how well the horse ran last time to the races behind Lurid, who was your market mover for the weekend, basically out of Trentham with the money that came for that horse and was very gutsy in holding on and winning in that race. But just the conditions of this race a week later certainly put it in the favour of Prince Leo. And you can also add Very Flash to that too, with this horse having to go up, 5 kilograms off the back of a very good win last week over the 1,600 metres, and has to go up in distance this afternoon, on Saturday, which we know is not going to be a problem for him, up to the 2,200 metres, but we'll have to carry more weight this time round. So it just looks like that Prince Leo has found himself in the right spot in terms of the weights, with how well the horse has run the last 2 races, to see the money move for the horse. And I think it's all pretty understandable with what we've seen, and as I pointed out around this horse. So, yep, I thought the horse was a very strong chance.
Yeah, 100%. Well, you'd agree with that. Prince Leo, what else you got on your dance card?
Well, it's very hard to look past Prince Leo with that weight swing. And I can see the money's come already, 380 into 330. I do like the look of Crossroads that Gerald Innes trained, with Lisa Allpress aboard. Never gave up at Otaki, holding off, I think it was Maduro, over 2,200. So Crossroads certainly in there, but it just only having to carry 54 for Prince Leo just really does make a little special.
What
there.
about our old mate Hurricane? Have you got him in anywhere? I mean, he's been in an Auckland Cup, then run 6th in the Rotorua Cup.
He's been running in some very flash fields and behind the likes of Cinerama, Concert Hall, Swords Drawn. So you'd have to give him a chance.
I love Hurricane, Steve, but why is he paying $5.50? Is he?
Well, he's had his trials and tribulations, hasn't he? He's been a little bit unsound in the last 12 to 18 months. I've hardly seen him race. He went up to Ellerslie, a late berth through an Auckland Cup. That didn't work out. He just gets a long way out of his ground as well. So he's a low percentage play in that respect. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're forecasting that horse. Maybe he can go over the sticks before the season's out. Hurricane.
Gee, that'd be dangerous.
It would be dangerous, that combo. 550, we've respected him enough.
Okay.
Look, I think Prince Leo, it's in terms of weights and measures, this is the key horse going into Saturday. Prince Leo carried 59.5 at 74 grade last Saturday. He drops to 54.5. You're looking at Lurid, there's that 5.5k swing. Advantage to Prince Leo this time in. He's third up, he loves the joint, he'll love the track conditions. And this is basically a glorified 85, which really hurts number 1, Very Flash, who won last Saturday also at Trentham, an open class standard. I think Very Flash was roundabout on the minimum from memory last Saturday. He's now allocated 60 kegs purely because he's the highest rated horse in this event, being open class. So he's been given 60. He gets a 2 kg allowance to 58. But you look at it, he only got 5 rating points from last Saturday. He sits at 86. So he's not well off. As I mentioned, it's a glorified rating 85 benchmark on Saturday, not an open class, and he's penalised because of the brand of the race being an open class race. And one horse, whoever's the highest rated galloper, has to be top weight and allocated 60 kegs, which very flashes that individual. Yes, he gets the claim as I've mentioned, but he still has to carry 58 where he sat on the minimum last Saturday on a testing track condition. That's why I'm gravitating towards Prince Leo on the minimum. Looks ready to hit a PB third up.
Okay, you boys are in a bit of agreement here by the sound of it, BP. Is there anything else we need to know in this race, or are we just Prince Leo train and ride it on home?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I do like Hurricane because we are finally going to get the right track conditions for him. Like, he has got blinkers on and he gets a heavy track. So they're 2 things that give him his chance for the weekend. And we've only got to start digging into his form to find his best form would be right up to winning this race, wouldn't it? So I wouldn't be dropping him just yet, Hurricane, at $5.50, but I just believe under the conditions of this race with where Prince Leo sits is that he does get his prime opportunity here of cashing in. So I'm with Prince Leo with a little saver maybe around Hurricane. Look, I guess the other horse we need to mention is Lurid, who did win last week and beat Prince Leo. It's in a different place in the weights. Yes, it still has to carry 53 kilos with what it carried last time to the races. It's just a matter of that it's conceding weight to some horses that are above it, that are closer to it this time round, and that's the question mark. But hey, gutsy effort when winning here at the venue 7 days ago.
Yeah, okay. BP with Prince Leo. Paul, are you going to change the tune, or are you going to stick with the programming here?
He only has to carry 54, but he's carrying me and BP.
Okay, it's a fair old weight. I won't add my frame to the picture here, but boys very keen on Prince Leo by the sound of it in the Mastered and Jubilee Cup. So $3.30 has been a decent move into 3.8. Righto, team. Let's wind this up. Bonus back blitz, Paul. We going again? What's happening this Saturday?
Yep, we are going again. The first 4 races from Pukekohe, Trentham, Eagle Farm and Caulfield. So 16 races altogether on Saturday. They will be bonus backs.
Big day at the farm too for all the Kiwis. He's mentioned Dark Destroyer.
Certainly, yeah. What price we got? Dark Destroyers around the 450.
I think it's
Yeah, I
around
think
there.
it's between $4 and $5. Yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah, massive chance, absolutely. Right, guys. Oh, viewer, listener question time. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've got one this week.
Have we?
Yeah, and a very good one. Jared Taylor.
Hold
Thank
on.
you. Yeah.
Hold on.
Cousin Jared.
Cards on the table. Any relation?
Yeah, I'm getting 50 of the bonus bets, I haven't told you.
Wow.
No, of course not. Of course not. $100 bonus bet going Jared Taylor's way for this question. Thank you for sending it in, Jared, to tlufeedback@gmail.com. The question, which horse are you most looking forward to seeing race, if I can read, in the spring, and why? Start with you, Paul. Have you gotten your horse that you're most looking forward to seeing?
Yeah, this one will be a 3-year-old next season. Kabuji with Mark Walker at the
hang on.
Arco stable.
Play your card. Show your hand here.
By Satono Aladdin out of a Shinko King mare, Kabuki. Only one start as a 2-year-old and one with ease with Opie Boston aboard. So, yeah, looking for him to, he'd be Captain Cottonwool to be fair, but looking for him to step up in his 3-year-old
Is
campaign.
he attacking guineas, or should we ask you or the guy next to you?
Probably this guy.
Kabuji looked impressive.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, he's done
Yeah,
everything
sorry,
right.
yeah.
Had a little bit of a setback, just going through some growing pains, etc. But yeah, he'll keep. He's having 8 weeks in the paddock at the moment, and he'll come back in the early spring hopefully and target some nice races.
You need to declare your ownership in it, or just for clarity, or just
Yeah,
leave it?
Just a slight interest.
Small interest.
Yeah.
Very good. Kabuji. No, look, very, very impressive on debut, to be fair, so I can't knock that selection. Steve, where did you land for your horse you're most looking forward to seeing?
It may be a bit of recency bias because this horse won about 4 or 5 weeks ago. A Prowess out of the Roger James and Robert Wellwood stable. A daughter by Presea, had the one start for 1 win as a 2-year-old. Very impressive victory. Won by, I think, roughly around about 9 lengths, but backed up on the clock, Thaddeus. Ran 110 over 1,200 metres, which rated 3.6 lengths above par on the day, and was 2 lengths superior via the 75 grade horses on the same day, was Prowess. Look, Connections paid $230K at the yearling sale, so hopefully they don't sell it because they've put the money up front to buy the horse at the sale, so hopefully it stays in New Zealand. I'm sure there's been a fair few offers post that victory, but she looks like a real 1,000 guineas type, daughter by Presea. She's one horse I definitely want to follow, and she'll be respected in the early markets when we open them in the new season.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Very impressive on debut, Pro. I think you might have had that in your conversation, BP, around Pro-S, or Prowess, but what's your horse you're looking forward to seeing?
Yes, I'll go with a horse that ran second at her one and only start. Now, that was at stakes level at Te Rapa behind Lord Cosmos. And going with the Stephen Marsh filly by Savabeel by the name of Mazzolino. Now, this horse was run down by Lord Cosmos, and as we know, Lord Cosmos brought very good form going into that race, but there was only a half a length margin on the line. She's well bred by Savabeel out of Posey, so looking for her to be a great chance heading into the spring period with her breeding on her side and with how she's run. Look, she is nominated for the 2-year-old series, which of course culminates at Ruakaka, so it'll be interesting to see if they look to take that path with her or if they identify the spring. But I really did like what she did on debut in a tough race to line up in as her very first start to the races. But it's a race that Stephen has had a lot of success with in the past, so I didn't mind marking her down as one to follow.
Okay, Mazzolino, yeah. Well, I thought there's obviously plenty of them, but yeah, Bonnie Lass, Lord Cosmos, the one you mentioned, BP, would be another one I'm thinking 2,000 guineas with. So
look, Dynastic. Yeah. I think Dynastic as well as a horse who won the Karaka Million, and purely with his breeding. Look, he's a horse that almost everything he did through the 2-year-old season was a bonus. Now, I know that he ran, second and fifth in two following Group 1s and just had a little issue in his last run in the Manawatu Size Produce Stakes. But, gee, he looks like to be a horse who's going to relish more distance and some more time on his side as he builds into a 3-year-old preparation. So, yeah, look, it's all eyes on Te Akau, isn't it, with what they produce, again, in terms of 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds.
Yep, absolutely it is, as it always is, or has certainly been for the last few years. Thank you, Jared Taylor, for your question. And there will be a $100 bonus bet going into your TAB account. What's that?
Good on you, Cuz.
Oh, yeah, very good. Yeah, no. Yeah, $100 for you, Jared. Thanks for your question, and thank you to the boys there. Right, I got best bets time. We'll wind up. Told you we'd be pushed. We're pushed again. We'll start with you, BP. Where did you go for your best bet this week?
Went to Trentham in a race that we not too long ago spoke about in race number 4. Muse Moir is a runner that did like what the horse did last time to the races. He's building and he finds the right race for him to possibly cap off all that good form. He's got wet track credentials next to his name and he's got leading jockey and Lisa Allpress aboard. So I thought he was a nice bet where he sits at $3.30 currently in the market.
Yeah, okay, all the boys pretty keen on the Muse Moir, so you can see why. After that last start run, BP's made it his best bet. Paul, where did you land for your best bet this week? We need you to get you back on track, to be fair, after what Z4's let us down.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've got a bit of money in the bank.
Yeah, well
to
in
be
front.
fair.
Well in front.
No, I'm heading to Pukekohe, race 5, the 3-year-old over the 1400 metres. And I like the Stephen Marsh trained Sarazen. I thought that was a lovely second at Rotorua not too long ago.
That's the win at Matamata there, isn't
That
it?
was the win where, yeah, a very nice form race there. So Sarazen at 450.
Okay, you're going with the up and running 3-year-old form there in Sarazen. Can't blame you there. What price? 450 was it?
450.
Happy with that, rightio. Stephen, where'd you land for your best bet this week?
I found it a little bit tricky, in particular up north. So I've headed to Trentham. Race 5, we've spoken about this race and this individual, the Open 2-2, Prince Leo. Named after my son, hopefully. Gets the cash. You see their last start. Is this the last start? Maybe this is its win going back a few starts. But his last start on Saturday, carried the 59.5, albeit lower grade, 74 grade. Steps up to open class, 54 on the minimum. Looks ready to hit a PB, third up. Loves the joint and the track conditions. Prince Leo, $3.30 currently. I reckon it starts under $3.
Okay, Prince Leo, $3.30 currently. So we step in there, couple it up with the Muse Moir. That's about $10 we're getting there, just on the double.
Races are back-to-back. Happy days.
Very good. Easy game, this, isn't
mate.
it? Yeah. Righto, guys. Time to go. Thank you, BP. Go the Warriors. What's happening this weekend? Warriors, Newcastle. What?
Well,
It's been a quiet week for the Warriors, hasn't it, BP?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's been really quiet. The 700,000 light as well. Yeah, look, they're playing the Newcastle Knights. It's a very key game because if they keep slipping down, they are the sort of games you don't want to be slipping up in because you find yourself in a very dangerous part of the table. So they need to be winning that game. But it was like last weekend. They needed to beat the Dragons, and they did it. Corey Oates to score a try. He loves scoring tries at Suncorp, and Brisbane are in red-hot form, and so is Corey Oates with his try-scoring ability at the moment. He scored 10 this year. I think he'll dot down again tonight.
Beautiful. I wish you had a Warriors try scorer for us because we've got a huge Warriors promotion on at the moment. Just head to warriorshomecoming.co.nz to register and to find out all the T's and C's. But it's a great prize. We don't really have time to... Do we have
No,
to?
we don't have time.
No,
Dylan.
but anyway, head to warriorshomecoming.co.nz to register and find out what it's all about.
Okay.
It'll be one to get stuck into. The prize is sensational.
Yeah, it looks a ripper. We'll check that out. Thanks, PP. Take a couple of months off, mate. You've earned it. Thanks, gents. Thanks, Paul, for your efforts.
Cheers. Yeah.
Yeah. Looking forward to the weekend. Yep.
Yeah, well, it'll be a quiet one.
Yeah.
On the couch.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Steve, and what are you doing tomorrow? You'll be working.
Yeah, working, but we'll be back in a couple of months,
Yeah.
leading into Foxbridge. New season, can't wait.
Yep, thanks for your efforts as always. And enjoy your time off.
Oh, happy 60th to Barty as well.
You can't, this is not a shout-out show. You tried this last week. I'm going to put a ban on that next season.
Roger.
But we hope you'll join us. Stick with us. We'll be back in a couple of months' time prior to Foxbridge Plate on the leg up.